개.
Where we get our drinking water. It's a freshwater lake. Started causing outbreaks of waterborne diseases like cholera. We had to do something about it. So in the late 1800s, we made an ambitious plan to reverse the direction of the entire river. We dug a series of canals in the south and west that connect to other rivers, to the Mississippi River, all the way to the Gulf. It's called locks. There's 2 sets of boat doors off that way, behind that boat there. They also closely monitor those locks to make sure no invasive species get in or out. In recent years in Lake Michigan, there's been an invasive species of zebra mussels, sort of oysters, filtering the water. It's actually changed the water color of Lake Michigan. So you notice when we're closer to the lake, it has this lighter blue, kind of tropical color to it. As you go further inland, the river takes on more of a brownish hue. Welcome to Chicago. We'll start over on the left. This 3-level blue glass skyscraper is the St. Regis from 2021. That is the 3rd tallest building in Chicago today, and also the tallest building in the world, designed by a woman-led architecture firm. Studio Gang, led by a Chicagoland architect named Jeannie Gang, designed the St. Regis. Did you know skyscrapers are actually designed to sway in the breeze? It's true, you don't want them to be too rigid, you also don't want them to sway too much. So in this tour, I'll tell you about 3 methods of sway reduction, how we calm down skyscrapers sway in the breeze. The first, if you look at the tallest out of those 3 towers, on the 83rd and 84th floor, there's actually a gap. That's called a flow-through floor. The idea is wind can take a shortcut through that gap, take some of the pressure off the tallest part of the building. Notice all the different shades of blue glass on the St. Regis. I was describing with the bridge raises.
Cool.
That's cool.
Nice.
Over on the right, you'll see a building with a round yellow dome. The Intercontinental Hotel was originally built by the Shriners. The guys wear the Fez hats, they're like Middle Eastern themes. They put a dome on top of their building. My favorite fact about that building, you see a little stone tower poking up behind the yellow dome? That was originally intended as a place to dock your blimp. They thought in the future we'd all be taking a tile. It's covered in more than 250,000 enamel terracotta tiles, which also makes the Wrigley building more fireproof. Fire is unfortunately a big part of Chicago's history. We'll talk more about that later on in the tour. For now, we'll jump ahead to 2009 for the Trump International Hotel and Tower. Straight ahead, the Trump Tower is today the 2nd tallest building in Chicago. You'll see the Trump Tower has 3 horizontal black strips going across it at places where the building gets narrower. Those are called setbacks, and their height is no coincidence. That first setback is actually the same height as the roof of the Wrigley building. That's 2009, saying hello to 1924. This is a great example of a modern style called contextualism, as in context, design that seeks to flow with the context around it. In this case, the height of each of those 3 setbacks lines up with the height of an older building nearby, acknowledging its predecessors. Trump Tower was designed by another Chicago architect, Adrian Smith, also known as the world's tallest architect, because he designed the current tallest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. To help picture the current tallest building in the world, picture 2 of Trump Towers stacked on top of each other.
Nice.
Twice the height of Trump Tower. It's roughly the height of the current tallest building. And up ahead on the right, you'll see 2 round white corncob-shaped towers, Marina City Towers, 1968. Their architect, Bertrand Goldberg, said there are no straight lines or sharp corners in nature, therefore our buildings should have nothing to take this very round and casual design. He was a social scientist. He was concerned with how people live. He wanted to create a city within the city. The idea you could live in your apartment above, park your car in the garage below, dine in the restaurants below that, or even park your boat in the marina below that. Kind of that relationship. Anyways, over on the left, that short concrete building with the gold 5-5. That's 55 West Wacker. It's also from 1968, but a very different style called brutalism, or architecture in the raw. The late 60s were So like I said, this is the junction of the 3 branches. trains we saw earlier were CTA trains, those run within Chicago. The trains underneath this building straight ahead are Amtrak and Metro trains that run to other cities. See those circles in the stone wall straight ahead? Those are actually vents. There's fans spinning in there, letting air out from the trains that run right underneath that building. If you were here in the early 1800s, over on the right, you could look at some of the earliest settlement. This would have been a tavern, a trading post. Today, it's two of our newer skyscrapers still under construction. Directly to our right is Wolf Point South, also known as the Salesforce Tower. Fancy new office building. It's on the inside of the first footbridge we built across the river in the late 1800s. We built it to access the tavern. On your left, these pointy residences are the River Cottages, 1988. Their architect, Harry Weiss, was a man obsessed with two things: sailing and triangles. It's kind of a nautical theme, the whole building shaped like a sail. Everyone thought Harry Weiss was crazy for this one, not just for the odd shape of the building, but for the fact he wanted to put residences on the river at all. Keep an eye on the Lake Street Bridge. We might get another nice photo op of an L train going up to the top there. And as we come around the bend, off to the left, you're going to have another lovely view of the main branch of the Chicago River. Nice picture coming up on your left. $100 million to construct. Wow. Like I said, they had to deal with that same requirement of leaving 30 feet of space between the river and the front of the building. You can see how they dealt with that with these tripod legs, these steel I-beams that lift the third floor and beyond up off the ground so people can enjoy walking along by the river. Now, like I said earlier, I call my tour a tour of time. So it's convenient. The next 5 buildings on the right are going to be in chronological order. It's going through some different phases of Chicago's architectural history. We'll start in the roaring 20s. On your right, 2 North Riverside Plaza from 1929. So their Art Deco building from 1929. Made of the same material as the merchandise art, was polished Indiana limestone. This was originally home to the Chicago Daily News. A lot of famous style.
May mga ano yan, mga first class ano na pwede kang humiga.
These Vanderbilt actually coined the phrase, less is more. All about simplicity and efficiency. He viewed these office buildings as machines made for working in. Each of these black box buildings is skeletons in space. The skeleton is the steel frame on the inside of this most of the working holding up the building. The skin is the outside, which is what we call a curtain wall, as opposed to a load. And then ahead on the right, this curving glass building is Gateway 4 from 1983. So now it's 1980s. We're ready to show off again, and we got new materials with which to do it. So right here. In reality, this is the old main post office. When it was completed in 1932, this was the largest post office in the world. Why Chicago needs a different post office? We used to be a major hub for mail order catalogs. Order something from a Sears catalog back in the day was a good chance this process in this building. 2016 has corporate offices for Walgreens and others. The roof of this building is actually a 3-acre park already part of it. That big granite building with the blue crown at the top is 311 South Wagger. We call it the Queen. It's actually the king because it kind of looks like a queen chess piece. Those blue crowns at the top are actually lights. At night, the top of that building lights up. They actually realized those lights were so bright it was confusing migrating birds who thought that was the moon. So they worked with scientists to figure out what months of the year birds are mostly migrating through, and during that time they dimmed the lights at the top of 311 South Wagger, so you don't have confused birds whacking into the building. 451 feet, or 442 meters, 110 floors. Still the tallest building in Chicago. Today it is the 3rd tallest building in the United States. The tallest building in America today is the One World Trade Center in New York. End to end, they were weaker. Bundled them together at the base, they were strong. That's how you get the Sears Tower, a building based on cigarettes. Let's talk about the name. It is the 2nd largest opera auditorium in North America. It seats over 3,500 people. There's no real front door back to it. It's good at many angles. That's a nice picture right here. In fact, are you talking a little bit about how the Ricky building is an office building made to look like a cathedral? Same can be said for the building just to the right of it. Straight ahead, that next stone tower is the Tribune Tower from 1925, 1 year after the Ricky building.
Ito yung Chicago Tribune.
And up ahead on the left, peacock logo on NBC Tower, 1989. Same architect that did the Trump Tower and Burj Khalifa, Adrian Smith. Kind of a sister
Adrian
built in 30
Smith.
Rock, 30 Rock Plaza in New York. Done again, 1980.